Cambridge IELTS speaking tests questions and sample answers. This IELTS speaking post focuses on the complete answer package for Cambridge IELTS 14 Test 1 to Test 4. Speaking full test. Here, I've offered answers or solutions for Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. The candidates may make necessary changes where needed to suit the answer. Hopefully, this post will be useful for the newcomers in IELTS who have major difficulties in understanding the test. Speaking Test 1 Part 1. The examiner asks the candidate about him/herself, his/her home, work or studies and other familiar topics. Future. What job would you like to have 10 years from now? Why? At the moment I work as a forestry and conservation science teacher in post-secondary, so I'm not sure, but maybe something like being the head of a department or even a project coordinator. It would be nice to stay in the same field as I'm very passionate about it. But I'd expect to advance with more experience and probably further studies. How useful will English be for your future? Why not? For me personally, English is and will be essential for what I want to do. My plan is to emigrate to Canada and pursue my career there because there are more opportunities to take advantage of in my field of expertise. How much traveling do you hope to do in the future? Well, apart from traveling to Canada, I would also like to see Europe in the future and Asia too. I don't have any firm travel plans at the moment. My main goal is to get to Canada and establish a new life there. Once I've settled and saved some money, I'll probably begin to plan some travel adventures during my summer vacations from school. How do you think your life will change in the future? Why? A lot. I'm quite young still and there are a lot of things I would like to achieve. But eventually, I would like to settle down, have children, and be a mother. I think moving to another country will be a big change, but I'm sure it won't be the last big change in my life. The way that technology is impacting everyday life nowadays is impressive, and education, which is my field, has seen many changes either way we teach and the resources at our disposal. I can only imagine what another 10 years of technology innovation will produce. Maybe students will have holographic teachers in the classroom so that the same teacher can teach many different students in various locations at the same time. Part 2. Describe a book that you enjoyed reading because you had to think a lot. You should say what this book was, why you decided to read it, what reading this book made you think about, and explain why you enjoyed reading this book. Sample answer: I recently read a book called 12 Rules for Life, written by Jordan Peterson. He's a clinical psychologist and a psychology professor in Toronto. The reason I read the book was that it became Amazon's best-selling book this year. I found it extremely interesting because it really made me think about my own life, what I was doing, and what I really wanted to achieve. Some of the things I learned included the need to maintain better posture and be more confident. This helps produce serotonin in your brain, which will help you feel energized and full of life. Then there was a chapter about how you deal with or treat yourself. I found this part really fascinating because it really made me think about how I see myself and my life. The book emphasized the importance of establishing values and direction in life, and to treat yourself as if you were helping another person. Also, the book explained the importance of friends, and why you should surround yourself with people who are only interested in the best for you. Be friends with people who will make you a better individual in life. Another important lesson I learned from reading this book was to not compare myself to other people, but to compare myself to the person I was yesterday, or last week, or last month. It's easy to become jealous of other people when you superficially compare yourself to them, but you are unique, and it's pointless to make such a comparison. The importance of leading a meaningful life was also discussed. as opposed to simply doing whatever is expedient, or easy, or simply pursuing pleasure or fun all the time. It's better to have a deeper meaning to what you do and why you do it. This part made me really think about my own life and what motivates me to do what I do, and also why I want to move to another country and build a new life. There were many other points discussed too. As I said, the book is called 12 Rules for Life, but there's not enough time to tell you about all of them here. Anyway, I enjoyed it a lot because it was one of the most engrossing reads I've ever experienced. It really made me analyze myself and my life, and I think if I put into practice some of the lessons, I'll become a better person. Part 3. Discussion topics: children and reading. What are the most popular types of children's books in your country? There are lots of them depending on the age of the children. Some of the best loved and most read ones include The Very Hungry Caterpillar, There's a Wocket in My Pocket, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, as well as many others. Children like good stories with interesting characters and adventures. They also like fun books which have rhymes or puzzles and things, you know, not a traditional story book. When children get older, they tend to read more novels, and of course, there are some of the literary classics taught in school, so children get broad exposure to many different kinds of books from when they are a small infant to the time that they become an adolescent. What are the benefits of parents reading books to their children? I guess there are quite a few I could mention. The most obvious one is that when parents read to their children, they are spending time with them, and this helps build a strong bond between them. Being close to your child can have many benefits when the children are older, and usually more problematic. Then, there's the fact that reading is empowering. A child who loves reading will become inquisitive about things, and reading allows them to learn and discover things for themselves. Reading is an essential life skill, possibly one of the most important you will ever learn. Parents reading to their children helps form their personality, values, and outlook on the world. Stories can provide children with valuable lessons about what's right and wrong, overcoming challenges, and many other life lessons. Should parents always let children choose the books they read? No, not always. While children choosing their own books allows them to be more engaged, maybe, sometimes a parent might want to choose a specific book to teach their child something in particular. Or they may want to simply try and provide more variety in the material their child reads, so they can experience different types of books, stories, rhymes, etc. But allowing a child to choose their own books can help indicate to parents what their child is interested in, so it can be a way of learning more about their developing personality, which is a good thing. It's probably best if choosing a book is a collaborative effort. For example, a young child may be attracted by the cover of a book, but the book might not be age appropriate, so the parent should find a way to help their child choose an appropriate book for their age. How popular are electronic books in your country? I don't really know. I mean, I haven't seen any research data on that. Personally, I usually read most books on my tablet simply because I find it easy to carry around. Many of my friends also use their device or e-readers to read books, but not all of them. And my older relatives still buy hard copy books, like they always did. I guess maybe 60% of my friends and the people I know regularly read an e-book, but I'm not sure if that can be generalized to the bigger population. With all the technology we use daily, I think it's safe to say that most young people use e-books on a regular basis, and I think that more and more people will in the future. It seems such a simple way to distribute reading material rather than having to go to a physical store to buy a book. I think that the fact you can download it instantly and not have to wait for a book to be delivered to your home is a great advantage. No doubt, as more people will buy things online in the future, the idea of e-books will also grow in popularity. What are the advantages of parents reading electronic books compared to printed books? The advantages are the same as for everyone else. It's cheaper and quicker to get the reading material. You can carry a huge selection of books on your tablet or e-reader, so you always have something interesting to read. If they are reading an electronic book with their children, it may be an interactive one, which they can help their children engage with and develop their reading and comprehension skills. And for older people, the ability to resize the text or font on the screen can help avoid eye strain. Resizing text when reading a book means you have to move the whole book closer to or further from your eyes, which might then put your arm in an uncomfortable position for reading. E-readers are more versatile overall, although I do sometimes miss the smell of a new book. I still remember that from my childhood. Will electronic books ever completely replace printed books in the future? There's a strong possibility that they will, yes. I mean, books need paper to make them, and paper comes from trees. Why should we waste such natural resources when you can have thousands of books to read on your tablet or other digital devices? Digital reading material makes much more sense in the long run. And another advantage is that book publishers don't have to transport books to a warehouse and then onto individual stores for distribution. So, again, it's better for the environment and saves wasting time, fuel, and effort when you can deliver the same reading material digitally instead. How popular are electronic books in your country? I don't really know. I mean, I haven't seen any research data on that. Personally, I usually read most books on my tablet simply because I find it easy to carry around. Many of my friends also use their device or e-readers to read books, but not all of them. And my older relatives still buy hard copy books, like they always did. I guess maybe about 60% of my friends and the people I know regularly read an e-book, but I'm not sure if that can be generalized to the bigger population. With all the technology we use daily, I think it's safe to say that most young people use e-books on a regular basis, and I think that more and more people will in the future. It seems such a simple way to distribute reading material rather than having to go to a physical store to buy a book. I think that the fact you can download it instantly and not have to wait for a book to be delivered to your home is a great advantage. No doubt, as more people will buy things online in the future, the idea of e-books will also grow in popularity. What are the advantages of parents reading electronic books compared to printed books? The advantages are the same as for everyone else. It's cheaper and quicker to get the reading material. You can carry a huge selection of books on your tablet or e-reader, so you always have something interesting to read. If they are reading an electronic book with their children, it may be an interactive one, which they can help their children engage with and develop their reading and comprehension skills. And for older people, the ability to resize the text or font on the screen can help avoid eye strain. Resizing text when reading a book means you have to move the whole book closer to or further from your eyes, which can put your arm in an uncomfortable position for reading. E-readers are more versatile overall, although I do sometimes miss the smell of a new book. I still remember that from my childhood. Will electronic books ever completely replace printed books in the future? There's a strong possibility that they will, yes. I mean, books need paper to make them, and paper comes from trees. Why should we waste such natural resources when you can have thousands of books to read on your tablet or other digital devices? Digital reading material makes much more sense in the long run. And another advantage is that book publishers don't have to transport books to a warehouse and then onto individual stores for distribution. So, again, it's better for the environment and saves wasting time, fuel, and effort when you can deliver the same reading material digitally instead. Cambridge IELTS 14 Speaking Tests Questions and Sample Answers. Cambridge IELTS Book 14 Speaking Test 2. Part 1. The examiner asks the candidate about him/herself, his, her home, work or studies and other familiar topics. Neighbors. How often do you see your neighbors? Why not? The neighborhood where I live is a very quiet area with very high fences and large gates. The doors open and close automatically and all the neighbors go in and out so fast in their cars that they don't notice anyone. That's why I hardly know my neighbors. Do you invite your neighbors to your home? Why not? My neighbors are mostly adults, many of them are parents and others are also grandparents. I am single and do not have children. I think that I do not have much in common with them beyond commenting on the weather. So I don't have much contact with my neighbors. Do you think you are a good neighbor? Why not? I think I'm not a bad neighbor, but I'm not good either. I believe that a good neighbor should propose and organize ideas to improve the area, and I have not taken any initiative in anything related to the needs of our neighborhood. Has a neighbor ever helped you? Why not? 5 years ago, some neighbors had a very sick son. One morning I passed in front of their house and the old man stopped me. His son was passed out on the floor. He could not lift him alone, so another neighbor came and helped me lift him onto the bed. Then he called the doctor. That is the only time that a neighbor has helped me. Describe a very difficult task that you succeeded in doing as part of your work or studies. You should say what task you did, why this task was very difficult, how you worked on this task, and explain how you felt when you had successfully completed this task. IELTS cue card sample answer. I am a tall and thin 30-year-old man. My co-workers always make jokes because they are more robust and less tall. We are firefighters. One night, we received a call for help. They had reported a fire in a house on the edge of the city. We all rushed to get to the area. The house was on fire and we did not see anyone, but suddenly I heard the cry of a dog that seemed to come from inside. I asked the neighbors if they had knowledge of an animal in the home, and they said there was a small dog. So I decided to go find the animal. I was sure I heard a cry. The doors were broken and I was able to run in. There was a lot of smoke and I couldn't see anything. I called and suddenly I heard the crying again. It came from above. I walked up the stairs with long strides. I called again and I could see it was a small puppy with long, droopy ears. He was terrified. Under the bed, I called him, but he did not come, so I crawled over to him and thanks to being thin I managed to get under. I reached for his leg and dragged him towards me, but not without him crying even harder. But soon he gave in and let himself go. With the animal in my arms, I turned around and ran downstairs. I left the house with him safe. Neighbors applauded and a lady came over to help me check it. Thankfully, he was fine, just very scared. It took several hours to put out the flames in the house. The owners were notified by one of their neighbors and arrived early when the sun was rising. A young woman approached me and very worried asked me if we had seen a dog inside, but at that moment the lady who helped me with the animal came and handed it to her. She cried and hugged him tightly. I am a man without a family. I live alone and I do not have pets because I do not have time to care for them, but I was very happy to see that this little animal was safe and his family were happy he had not perished in the fire. Part 3. Discussion topics: difficult jobs. What are the most difficult jobs that people do? I believe that all jobs that challenge a person's physical and mental resilience must be the most difficult jobs to do. For example, being a miner. I think it is very hard and dangerous work. Another job that must be very difficult is that of a window cleaner for very tall buildings. The mental challenge of staying suspended way up in the air while working must be terrifying. One of the worst jobs is cleaning drains. I suppose the odor emanating from the sewers must be very difficult to endure. Why do you think some people choose to do difficult jobs? I think that the people who choose the most difficult jobs are people who have not had the opportunity to finish studying for a professional career. That's why they carry out less complicated tasks. Others may also live in places where the only job opportunities are the most difficult, such as living in a mining area. Do you agree or disagree that all jobs are difficult sometimes? I think that everything often depends on the state of mind in which a person is or the circumstances they are experiencing. A routine without change can become very difficult to endure, as well as bad treatment by superiors if they are in a bad mood. On the other hand, the pressure of being an entrepreneur who handles many risks and challenges daily can be exhausting. Personal and career success. How important is it for everyone to have a goal in their personal life? Any goal is the end of a path, and you must have a goal to know which steps to take to get there. Having a goal is to make sense of the decisions that are made over the years, months, or days. There are short-term goals such as losing weight. So, there will be some decisions about diet and eating habits that need to be taken. Hopefully, that short-term goal might turn into a long-term habit, leading to a much healthier life. Is it always necessary to work hard in order to achieve career success? I believe that constant work is needed to achieve lasting success. Also, if you know how to choose what you want to be successful in with your skills and passion, for example, your career, it is easier to achieve success in your professional life. Hard work can be easier to do if the work is a task that pleases us. Do you think that successful people are always happy people? Often, success and happiness go hand in hand. A successful person will be full of satisfaction of all kinds, economic, emotional, and sentimental. Health is an important issue, and I believe that a successful person is happy and therefore will be much healthier than a person surrounded by failure, worry, and possibly depression. Cambridge IELTS 14 Speaking Tests Questions and Sample Answers. Cambridge IELTS Book 14 Speaking Test 3 Part 1. The examiner asks the candidate about him, herself, her home, work or studies and other familiar topics. Social media. Which social media websites do you use? Why? The websites that I usually use are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I use them because it's the easiest way that everyone can contact their friends, family, and acquaintances and be in touch with them. I think it's a good way to know that they are okay or if they need something. How much time do you spend on social media sites? Why? The time I spend on social media depends on the things I'm looking for and the planned activities I have in my day. Sometimes, I spend more time than I should because I find things to buy or post things to sell and respond to many messages, and that all takes a lot of time. What kind of information about yourself have you put on social media? Why? The things that I publish on my pages have to do with the landscapes that I capture with my cell phone on the different trips I take. I like to share the images of the things that I see and that seem beautiful to me. Is there anything you don't like about social media? Why? Social networks, just as they connect people, can also separate them. It is very common for people to annoy each other for information they discover through social media. Couples break up, families get upset or offended so easily. I think that the concept of a private life stopped being private since the appearance of social media. Part 2. Describe something you like very much which you bought for your home. You should say what you bought, when and where you bought it, why you chose this particular thing, and explain why you liked it so much. From the moment I started living alone, one of the things I always set out to buy was a washing machine. Before doing so, for years I had my clothes washed in the laundromat, and it bothered me a lot that they did not always return all the clothes that I had left because they were lost in the washing, drying or folding process. Also, you can never be sure that they won't mix up your clothes with someone else's, as on several occasions they also gave me clothes that were not mine. So the moment I acquired my own washing machine, I was very happy about it. In order to decide which one to buy, I did some research on the internet to choose the right washing machine for me. So the brand, capacity, features, and price had to match my needs. After doing a detailed analysis, I realized that the Samsung washers are the most advanced here, since in addition to spinning the clothes, it also has the drying function. That last function was very important in my decision, since I live in a humid area, where it often rains. But that feature was not the only thing that convinced me to buy it, because my washing machine also has the appealing feature of saving energy and using less water. Once I knew which one I wanted, I located the mall that sold it and went to buy my washing machine. It has been 5 years since then, and it has made my life much easier. So far it has never broken down or given me any maintenance problems. It is a very beautiful white washing machine. Its size is ideal for the place where I have it installed. Its capacity is exactly what I need, and it is completely automatic, so I just have to put the clothes in and put the detergent, and it does the rest. And when the wash cycle ends, the clothes are almost dry. That is why I love it so much that I call it the queen of my house. Part 3. Discussion topics: creating a nice home. Why do some people buy lots of things for their home? The way to make a home cozy is to have things that make it look more pleasant. Paintings dress the walls, plants give life to spaces, rugs adorn the floors, and furniture is an important part of making people feel comfortable. A house that is too sober is not cozy. It does not have that personal touch of the owner and can seem as cold as a waiting room in a doctor's office. That is why I believe that people decide to buy many things for their home, to personalize their space. Do you think it is very expensive to make a home look nice? Decorating a house can be very expensive if you choose to buy the objects in prestigious department stores where the items they sell are high-end brands and quite expensive. But there are many alternative options to decorate your home, such as making the objects with which it will be adorned with your own hands. DIY decorating projects are very popular. Why don't some people care about how their home looks? I think that the way of seeing things depends on the circumstances of each person. It may be that a person chooses to have their house with few decorations, a limited amount of furniture, or walls. Simply painted white, without a single floor covering, just because it is more practical for them. Also, if it isn't your own home and you are just renting, one day you will move and probably have to leave everything or a lot of things behind. Different types of home. In what ways is living in a flat apartment better than living in a house? I once heard a friend say in a conversation that she preferred to live in an apartment because of the security. She used to travel a lot and could just close her door and go on a long trip. She said that living in an apartment made her life easier, since the maintenance staff takes full charge of the communal services and the green areas, the pool, the garbage, and everything in general. Do you think homes will look different in the future? I believe that the houses may have important changes in their structure and look different in the future, according to the characteristics of the area in which they are built. Technological advances and innovative construction techniques mean that in construction engineers have achieved buildings in spaces where before it would never been believed possible to build something. So, in the future, I think housing and many other types of structures will look very different from what they look like today. Do you agree that the kinds of homes people prefer change as they get older? I totally agree that the type of space where a person lives can change as their physical capacities dictate, which can be directly linked to their age. It is not the same to live in a house with several floors and many stairs as it is to live in a house with only one floor. Therefore, an elderly person, for example, might prefer to live in a house without stairs. Or they may prefer to live in a nice compact apartment which is easier to get around and maintain. It makes sense that our accommodation needs evolve as we go through life, like many other things like clothes, food, and so on. Cambridge IELTS 14 Speaking Tests Questions and Sample Answers. Cambridge IELTS Book 14 Speaking Test 4. Part 1. The examiner asks the candidate about him/herself, his/her home, work or studies and other familiar topics. Your neighborhood. Do you like the neighborhood you live in? Why not? The place where I live is a very quiet neighborhood, with little movement of people and little noise. For those reasons I like my neighborhood. You can go outside my house at any time of the day and nobody will bother you. It's really tranquil. What do you do in your neighborhood in your free time? Why? In the afternoons when I have free time I go for a walk. The good thing about my neighborhood is that there are very few cars and the streets have many tall and beautiful trees that protect you from the sun. Quite often I see some neighbors also out walking their dogs. What new things would you like to have in your neighborhood? Why? I wish there was a park in my neighborhood, with space to play ball, basketball, and volleyball courts. It would be great. If it also had a closed place to release your dog so it could play with other dogs. Would you like to live in another neighborhood in your town or city? Why not? I don't think I would like to live in another area within the city where I live. There are several reasons why I wouldn't prefer to live elsewhere, such as my neighborhood is quiet, safe, and one of the coolest areas of my city because the other neighborhoods are hotter and busier, with lots of people and traffic. Describe a website you have bought something from. You should say what the website is, what you bought from this website, how satisfied you were with what you bought, and explain what you liked and disliked about using this website. Some years ago I decided to buy a desk because I was about to start college and I wanted something very comfortable to spend many hours studying. The plan was to position it in a specific corner of my house. Thinking about this, I went looking for several furniture stores in my city, but none of the desks I saw were adapted to my needs for space and taste. Due to this problem, I chose to start my search on the internet, looking at websites that some friends recommended, where I could buy the ideal type of desk for what I wanted. After several visits to many pages, I found Amazon, which surprised me with the great variety of designs and prices that they offered in furniture, in addition to the thousands of different things that can also be found on that site. This website is well known worldwide. You can buy any type of product from it, basically, as its slogan says, from A to Z, there is no minimum amount, nor a minimum number of products to buy, so it is a giant online retailer. The design of the page is very comfortable and rigorously organized. Everything is catalogued by fields of different topics. Some examples are home, electronics, motorsports, sports, tools, gardening, and of course, the product with which Amazon initially started, the sale of books of any kind. One of the curiosities of this page is the origin of its name, since it comes from the word Amazoas, the explanation. According to its creator, is that he wanted the offer to be as immense and varied as the river that bears the same name. On this page, I found the type of desk I needed, despite not seeing it physically and only having the idea from the photos shown. All the characteristics, features, and the measurements were explained on the page. As for the cost of shipping, it was free, due to the amount of the purchase, and it arrived in a very short time at my address without any setback. Part 3. Discussion topics: shopping online. What kinds of things do people in your country often buy from online shops? Most of the people who live in my country buy their things directly from the commercial stores, since not everyone has the confidence to buy online, due to the theft of card data and unreliable websites. But people who buy online choose items from a wide variety of products such as footwear, clothing, kitchen utensils, tools, and sports items, among others. Why has online shopping become so popular in many countries? Buying online has become a very useful option for everyone in the world. The reasons may vary, but I think the most important are time, diversity, and economy. Currently, due to people working so much, there is less time to visit physical stores. In addition, when you shop online, you are more likely to find hundreds of different options, even from different countries around the world. And on several occasions, the costs are cheaper online than in a physical store. What are some possible disadvantages of buying things from online shops? The possible disadvantages of buying online could be related to the quality of the product you are looking for and the reality when the product arrives, since the photos on the website can give a very different impression of a product sometimes. This is more common with the not so well-known brands. Another disadvantage can be the waiting time between the purchase and the arrival of the product, since it could take longer than expected, and even not arrive on time, which is important in case it is for an event on a specific date. Online retail businesses. Do you agree that the prices of all goods should be lower on internet shopping sites than in shops? Because physical establishments in shopping centers have to pay different permits, rent, and salaries, most of these businesses raise their costs in order to be profitable for their owners. It's not so with online stores, since they don't have to pay a lot of these inevitable taxes and rent. That is why I consider that the costs should be cheaper in online stores, and in most cases they are. Will large shopping malls continue to be popular, despite the growth of internet shopping? Shopping in the malls is a custom that will rarely be forgotten. Humans are by nature social beings that require interaction. So, shopping in malls offers this opportunity to interact with the world and meet more people. Shopping centers have the advantage of this social interaction, since inside them you'll always see many people gathered to spend a pleasant time together. Do you think that some businesses, e.g. banks and travel agents, will only operate online in the future? In recent years, we have witnessed an undeniable race because many services, for the most part, have been transferred to the internet and to the comfort of mobile devices. There is even a growing generation of people who increasingly dispense with using cash in favor of contactless mobile payments, and so they no longer need bank branches like before. For this reason, I consider it very likely that in the future banks and probably many other types of business will be operated solely online, especially in developed countries and large cities. People want the greater convenience that this offers.